And we welcome you back on this Friday night. I'm Brian Taff. In a state where Democrats consistently dominate in elections and currently hold every single statewide elected office, where all but 3 of 29 congressional seats are held by Democrats, who also enjoy an overwhelming majority in the Assembly and a slight edge in the Senate, Republicans have their work cut out for them if they want to regain some relevance in New York, which is why the next chair of that party also has his work cut out for him. Henry Wojtaszek currently serves as Niagara County Republican chair and is vying for the position of state party chair. He joins us live tonight in Buffalo to tell us why he's the man who can get the once grand old party back to being grand again. Henry, thanks for your time. Good to talk to you.
Thank you for having me, Brian.
So as you might have seen, we had Ed Cox, the other man, vying for the same title you are on the program earlier this week. And I want to start the same way I started with him. Given that introduction and the description of the fact that Republicans are at such a disadvantage in the state in terms of the elected offices they hold and the ones they don't, why would anybody be crazy enough to want this job?
Because they want to engineer a turnaround of the state Republican Party so that we can return its focus to what parties are designed to do, which is to win elections.
Okay, then that question asked, why are you better qualified? And we know it's not a head-to-head race, but you are trying to convince county chairs across the state that you are better qualified than Ed Cox is for the job.
Well, actually, I would say that it is a head-to-head race at this point, although there may be other candidates. There's still time for other candidates to get into the race. But I think at this point, what I've been talking to the county chairs and their state committeemen about is the fact that we've actually been out there in the street. In Niagara County, we've had tremendous success in winning elections, being out there recruiting candidates relentlessly raising money and putting bodies in the street to make sure that those candidates get elected.
Henry, let me ask you about the level of support. When Ed Cox was on the program earlier this week, he touted the fact that he says he has more than 40 of the 62 county chairs across the state. He says that amounts to 60% of the weighted vote. And though the election is not tomorrow, if it was held tomorrow, according to those numbers, he would win. So what level of support do you think you have at this point from the county chairs you need to elect you chair?
I have excellent support. Brian, I just announced this past Monday, and since then I've had 12 county chairs come on board. I've been speaking to a lot of them. I expect to get more of them in the coming days. And again, I've had some tremendous support among state committeemen. Now, while he talks about 60% of the county committeemen, the reality is that the county committeemen, unless they're also state committeemen, excuse me, the county chair, unless they're also state committeemen, don't actually vote for the state chairman. So there will be an election. It will be held somewhere near the end of September. And like everything else, Brian, if you just follow the polls, a lot of times you get a different result. You need to have an election. It will be held, and I plan on continuing to take in the fight to every part of New York State to convince the state committee members to elect me state chair.
Well, anyone who's followed this knows that Ed Cox has been out there for some time waging a rather public campaign for this title. You've only recently thrown your hat in, at least publicly speaking, choosing to wait for whatever decision Joe Mondello, the current party chair, would make. As we reported earlier this week, he announced he will not seek re-election. Hence your entrance here. Do you feel you were in some ways handicapped by the delay there, that Joe Mondello waited so long to make what most people assumed was the inevitable decision?
Well, yes, Brian, it's true I did get a little bit of a late start, but I have been crisscrossing the state over the last couple months, working on various needs of the state party. We held a tech conference in Albany recently to get everybody engaged and get them up to speed with the newest technologies. So we've got time to get to all the corners of the state that we need to. And again, we will take that fight to the state committeemen, and we'll have an election in September.
Well, speaking of delay and what some say is the damage that stems from it, there was a county chairman who was rather vocal in his criticism of Rudy Giuliani earlier this week, saying, look, Rudy, here we are in a position where we know that either Andrew Cuomo or David Patterson or both is going to run on the Democratic side, and we can't point to a Republican who's going to run, saying in essence, the longer you wait, the less of a better position we are in, or a worse position we're in, to wage a successful fight. I know that Rudy Giuliani supports your bid. So my question is, What have you asked of him? What demands are you putting on him in return to say, I want you to run and to announce it soon?
Well, we're certainly encouraging him to run. I'm hopeful that he's running. I think we can build the state party around him. I think a gubernatorial run by Rudy Giuliani would completely reinvigorate the state Republican Party. What we need to do is to begin the recruitment of all of our statewide candidates. There's 6 statewide offices that will be up in the 2010 November elections. So we need to do that very soon. Now we've got to get the business of putting our party together, headed by the chairman, and we'll do that in September. And I believe shortly thereafter we'll have a process by which we will go across the state and we will seek the input of all the other county chairs across the state and state committeemen, and we will begin the process of recruiting those candidates. And it has to happen soon, within the next few months. But we need to begin by electing our state chairman.
Well, I know you're likely not inclined to share the nature of any private conversations you've had with Rudy Giuliani, which I assume you have had, but do you get the sense from him that he is leaning in one direction or another? He said earlier this week, look, I'll make up my mind about a run for governor in 30 to 60 days. Do you think at this point he's more likely to run or more likely not to?
Well, he certainly has not made any commitments. He clearly is interested in running for governor. He is gauging the support from people across the state. He was here in Western New York last Tuesday, met with a variety of community leaders, asking questions about various topics here. So he's clearly interested in running, and I expect him to have his answer, as he said, within 30 to 60 days.
Henry, you know, much has been made of the plight of the Republican Party in this state for so long. I mean, the list I rattled off in the beginning of offices they don't hold now begs the question, beyond changing demographics, how has it gotten so bad for Republicans? Why is it, in essence, as bad as it is for your party?
Well, I think what we need to do is rebuild the party from the bottom up. You know, it's a combination of things. It's a combination of not recruiting the top flight candidates that we have in the past. You know, certainly, as you said, the demographics are against the Republicans. I believe the last figures show approximately 2.5 million more Democrats in this state than Republicans. But we've shown that we can win statewide in a very tough place to run. We've shown across the state we can win in very tough places, such as Erie County, with Chris Collins winning the county executive seat in a very, very difficult environment. In Niagara County, we're at a great disadvantage for Democrats. What you've got to do is you've got to recruit outstanding candidates, find the resources to back them up, and we can win. It's clear we can win here in New York State.
And finally, since you began the conversation tonight by saying what sort of needs to happen, I guess, or rather why you're the guy that would make it happen, what needs to happen? Where do you start? I mean, if you're fundamentally rebuilding the party, and if it is on the brink of extinction, as some say, that's what you've got to do. How do you start?
I think you start from the grassroots. You start from the bottom up. You collaborate with the local parties to make sure that they're working together to recruit the candidates. You provide them the technology that is necessary to compete in this day and age. And you also make sure that everybody is working together for the same goals. So we need to begin this process very soon. We need to work together. We need to recruit the candidates, find the money that's necessary to move this party forward. And
indeed, the election for state chair has to happen within 15 days of the September election. So that's coming up. We're going to know the answer to this big question within a couple of weeks. We'll be watching very closely. Henry Wojtaszek, a candidate for the New York State Republican chair. We appreciate your time. Good luck to you, sir.
Thank you very much, Brian. I appreciate it.
We'll be talking to you down the line, I'm sure.